TFT set 8.5 is going to end in just under a month, and if you are looking to climb consistently, here are 10 comps that are going to be able to help you do so. Ezreal carry, aka 7 Infinity. This was S tier last patch and really has not changed whatsoever. Ezreal is just a stupidly overpowered unit right now. The only problem is that it takes a little while to ramp up and get there, so you've got to fast 8 and hopefully push for 9. In the early game, I would suggest going for maybe a Lucian reroll or Sivir comp, but be a bit careful about putting some items onto Lucian because a lot of those don't translate over to either Samira or Ultimate Ezreal. The best time to go for this is if you get an augment in the first shop that's going to give you a lot of gold early, like Windfall, because you definitely want to hit those interest breakpoints as early as you can. Second up on the list is a Riftwalker Renegades comp, aka Jhin and Viego. There's actually another variation of this comp on the tier list that we'll talk about in a little bit, but for this one, there's a big advantage in the fact that you can kind of flex around it. You've got Aatrox as a threat, you can go Ox Force frontline, you can drop Morgana for Camille if you can hit a Renegade emblem, and maybe even pair this with another admin. There are just a lot of opportunities to flex around in this comp, and it's one I've been having a lot of success with, so definitely a very strong scaling one. You just gotta fast 8, you don't have to push for 9, and if you don't hit the right itemization or units, there are other options that you can flex out of from this. Another old standby, Oxforce Spellslinger Nico and Twisted Fate, still probably the strongest AP comp in the meta. It also has a lot of flexibility in that you can reroll for Annies if you are hitting a lot of them early, and you won't really be that hindered because you don't need a 3-star carry down the road. But if you manage to hit on a Nico or a TF early and you aren't hitting on Annies, you can just go your standard 8 leveling. Next up, we got Laser Corpse Warwick, another very standard comp that hasn't changed a lot since set 8.5 began. You do want to try and get to 9 with this comp if you can, but if you don't manage to hit an Urgot, you could just go at 8. Once again, a good early to mid curve because you can put a lot of the items onto Ashe that will go to Warwick, and on Yasuo that will go to Mordekaiser. And then our last S-tier comp in Gadget Nar. Really no change on this, it's an extremely strong comp to go for. Also super flexible comp because you can start with Super's Lulu, and if that doesn't pan out, you can just transition it to Gadget Nar. And speaking of Super's Lulu, that is our first comp in the A tier, down from the S tier last patch, but Super's Lulu, still a very, very strong comp. Obviously, it's a bit risky because you are a reroll comp and you have to be winning early. If you mess up and overcommit to it, you're going to get burned. But like I said, if things are looking good for you and you've got a lot of Lulus and Supers early, go for this. It's super strong. And one thing I've kind of noticed that's curious is that if you're running this comp, you will a lot of times get like a super emblem. You can drop Gangplank, replace that with just any strong frontliner like a Riven or maybe a Garen. I really love starting with the intention of going for this comp early because it's very easy to transition out of it. And one of those comps you can transition it into is Riftwalker Vex. This is a comp I've gone over in a past guide, but if you've overcommitted to Lulu and items, just about any of those items can work on Vex as well. This is the standard orientation, but you can drop threats like Aatrox and Aurelion Soul. Go for supers as a frontline if you would prefer, but if you're just not having luck hitting those early game units, you can just transition into this one. It works very, very well. And if you're having trouble getting the Vexes that you need to pivot again, this Renegades comp, the other variant of the Jhin and Viego, is a very strong option as well. This one's a 5 Renegade comp, so it's a lot more indexed into Viego, and the fact that Camille is so strong in this comp is one of the reasons why I would hold on to any Camille's that you can see early, because she can take on a lot of those items that you would normally go to, like Viego, Jhin, or even Leona. But this is a super good comp. I would say it's better on the whole than the generic Jhin and Viego comp. This one's just a little bit harder to get to because usually by the time you've pivoted to this, you've lost your opportunity to get a lot of Camille's and Shens. Then the last two comps of the patch didn't quite make the A tier, but still worth going into. First up is Star Guardian Quick Draw, aka the Kaisa comp. It's still an incredibly strong comp, especially if you're able to get that Star Guardian emblem and put it on Misfortune. And if you need be, you can also go for Star Guardian and for Quick Draw if you don't manage to get that emblem. But of all the Quick Draw comps that are out there, this is definitely the strongest, even though it's not quite as strong as it has been. And then speaking of Misfortune, Anima Squad is the last comp of our top 10 for 13.11. Some flexibility for this one as well because you can index into Vayne and maybe go into Duelists if you wanted to. But overall, I just wouldn't recommend committing that hard to Duelists and Vayne. She's good, but Misfortune is definitely the best carry in the Anima Squad. Probably not going to be as highly contested, but it's just really not that strong. And if you want a better alternative to this Misfortune comp, go ahead and check out this guide on Riftwalker Vex. Let me know what's allowed you to climb in the comments, and I'll catch you later, Knuckleheads. Peace!